Hey everyone, and welcome to the Orange Chronicles, where I chronicle everything that's been going on over the past week or so. And let's go ahead and jump right into the books and what I'm reading, because I actually didn't finish any book over the past week, which is pretty abnormal for me. Normally I finish about a book a week, but I am kind of in the middle of two very long books. And one is my physical book, and that is Fugitive Prince by Janie Wertz, book 4 of Wars in Light and Shadow by her. And I just mentioned quickly that this is my physical read. I have been reading this book since January. Part of that is when I physically read a book, I normally do it right before bed. I get into bed, read for however long, really, until I fall asleep. And sometimes that's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but you kind of get the gist there. And so that has made it very slow going with this, which is sad because this is a fantastic book. This is on the track to be my favorite of the book so far, which is also great trajectory for the series because I have liked each book more than the one before it. If that can stick up, for the whole, what is it, 10 or 11 book series, that would be awesome. I would love for that to happen. I doubt it will. I don't think I've ever had a series that this long do that, but that would be awesome. But this is on track for that. Like I said, at about the 50, or I am at the 50% mark. It might not look like it exactly because there's like a glossary and stuff back here. But some things that have been going on in this book, this being book 4, I'm going to be extremely vague because I don't want to spoil anything. You should read these books. But there were really a few characters who I had been wondering about. Both of these characters seemed to be super important to the story, and we finally got some things happening with them after it had been a little bit of time throughout the story. And one completely blew my mind. Actually, both of them did, really, for completely different reasons. But one, actually, I can't say that because it's too. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll be extremely careful here just in case. If you want to know, let me know down below in the comments. But just some things that are being explored right now between different characters. Some political motivation stuff is also starting to really transpire, where you want to have this belief that people are doing things because they are just fully bought into your ideology, your thoughts, they believe in your cause. And what we're really seeing is there are some like political cracks, and really what's happening is people are seeing a certain character to be a vessel to get to the ends that they want to get to. They're going to use him for as much as they can, and if it gets them to where they want to be, great. They don't necessarily buy into everything that's going on with him, but it's good enough for them because it's going to reward them in the end. And so some of this political maneuvering, I'm curious on when some of that is going to either crash and burn, or it's going to work, or how that's all going to play together. The political maneuverings are always so fascinating. I know so many people talk fondly about like Game of Thrones and some of the political maneuvering and stuff that's going on there, but we're getting the same kinds of like backroom dealings, people talking behind each other, all of those kinds of things right now in this book, and it has just been really, really awesome. We're getting different perspectives on things, and yeah, it's just been so great. And so my plan is to read more of it. And I keep saying that, but one thing that did happen is today is Saturday. I'm filming this very late Saturday night. So Saturday, I finally sat down and was like, you know what? I'm just going to dedicate a bunch of time to reading Fugitive Prince. And I read like 12 or 13% of this book just today alone. So my hope is I can maybe bump it up from like reading like 5 pages a day when I was reading before bed, and bump that up a lot, and hopefully really get through this, because I do have another physical book waiting for me, and I don't want to read 2 physical books and have an audiobook going at the same time. Really, for me, like the max is like 1 audiobook, 1 physical book at a time, and even that I'm not like the biggest fan of, but I do it because I can keep them separate enough in my head. And that audiobook that I'm currently listening to, and like I said, didn't finish any books, is House of Chains, also book 4, but in Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. And I'm just a little bit past book 1 inside of this book. So normally the Malazan books are structured where there's a book 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever inside of them. And book 1 follows a new character to us named Karsa Orlong. And I have gotten so much talk about how great of a character this person is. And it took me a little while to warm up to them. And I don't think you're really even supposed to like them all the way at the point we are at. But they are definitely a fascinating character. There's some God stuff that's going on with them that I think is going to be interesting. I'm really curious on where that's going to like play out, and that is something that is kind of like I'm racking my head a little bit into, and so we'll see. Like I said, it was a character who definitely took me a little while to warm up, but I also did kind of like the storytelling shift we got a little bit here, where we were really hyper focused into just this one specific character on their very, very specific journey, and it wasn't so much this big, grand, sweeping scale of everything that was going on that we have seen in some of the other Malazan books. I think even in most of the other books, you do get single POV stuff happening, but I don't want to say it feels jumbled because that feels like it has a negative connotation, but what really is, there's just a lot going on even in a single POV. And Karsa's just felt a lot more raw, a lot more just like focused. And I kind of enjoyed that. So we'll see how the rest of the book goes for me. I'm at the point with Malazan where I don't think it's, I hope I can clip this and put it in a video a year from now when I hopefully finish the series. But I think I'm just at a point where I like Malazan, but I don't know if I'm ever going to like love it like some people. And I hope that changes. I think it would be really cool. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm settling in, where it's like I'm enjoying the series, but I'm not going to be a prophet for Malazan, at least right now. We'll see. Like I said, I would love to like clip this and put it in a video later and like be like, wow, look how wrong you were. Now you won't shut up about it. So we'll see what happens there with Malazan. I don't really have too much else to say because that book one feels so much like a kind of prequel story to what is going to continue on in the rest of this book or with that character at some point. So it's kind of, almost like a short story inside of this, even though I know it's going to, grow, because nothing in Malazan doesn't seem to be interconnected. There's always a convergence coming at some point. But that leads us to what am I going to read next, and I did already talk about that I have a physical book waiting for me, and that is Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. So if I can finish Fugitive Prince this week, which feels like a pipe dream, especially with how busy I've been at work, I don't think that's going to happen, but that will be the next book I pick up, and then I don't think I'll finish Malazan this week. But if I do, the next book up will be I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman, and so we'll see. But like I said, my goal would be for my next weekly update to say I have finished Fugitive Prince and I have finished Malazan Book of the Fallen. That would be fantastic. I would love for both of those things to happen. I have my doubts, especially actually on Fugitive Prince. If I had to bet, it would be easier for me to finish House of Chains just being at like the 30% mark, but I can normally get a lot more audio time listening in than actual physical sitting and reading. So we'll have to see what happens there. Next up, let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit into the manga that I have read over the past week. And I alluded to it just a little bit there a few seconds ago, where work has been very busy for me, and that has been very true. And so I've only read one chapter of Dragon Ball Super. We're starting to get into the tournament arc. People are fighting people, and there's a little bit of charm that this last chapter had, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I was just in a good mood when I was reading it, but I feel like we're maybe starting to get a little bit back to what I really like about Dragon Ball. It's that fun, quippy, action-packed kind of stuff. That's what I like to see with Dragon Ball. So hopefully that is what we get a little bit more of, and we'll see. I think I still have major problems with the story in general, where you're supposed to go watch like whole movies to then come back so you like have the whole story together, which to me doesn't work. I just kind of want a self-contained story, but that, I'll complain about that every time I talk about it. And then I also just read one chapter of Frenin, and it looks like we might be adding a new person to our party, which is fine with me. Like I said, there is just something about this series that just works so well for me, and we'll see if it can continue on that path. I'm just always so surprised how much I love it when I just like open it. I'm just so happy when I'm looking at those panels, and it's funny because I haven't really even read that much of it. I've just scratched the surface on it. So we'll see what happens there. And I did notice actually right before I started filming this that I have a new chapter of Boruto waiting for me. So we'll go ahead and get into that. And I'm actually really excited because I've had a little bit of a break from it, but this is going to sound funny. I happened to see a bunch of like clips from Naruto Shippuden, just like scrolling on the internet. And man, it just reminded me how much I love Shippuden in particular. Honestly, even just like regular, like original Naruto. Man, I really did just love that series so much, and it makes me yearn for that world. So even though Boruto doesn't deliver the same way Naruto does, and I don't think it ever will be able to, it's just nice that I still kind of have that thing to go back to. But yeah, just like seeing clips of stuff that happened like late in the war arc of Shippuden, I'm just like, oh man, that is just like top tier stuff. So it made me hyped to get back into Boruto when I saw that chapter was there. But those are kind of my plans going forward with manga. Like I said, just like the footnote it, once I finish either Dragon Ball Super or Frenin, One Piece is going to be what I go back to. I'm at about chapter 160 or so there. And actually, I went to a Korean barbecue place today for dinner, and they had a giant, like 110-inch screen just playing One Piece. And it was, so I know a lot of One Piece spoilers, actually, just because I know so many people who like it and have been around that community for long enough, even though I don't really read it or watch it. But they just like have like the show going on with certain characters fighting. And I'm like, hope you're not like just getting into One Piece, seeing a couple hundred episodes later, and you're like, who's that guy that looks just like Luffy, and why is he bad things happening. And yeah, it was just kind of a funny thing to see while I was at dinner today. No real exciting news on anything I watched, except for I have finally gotten back to watching Shogun. And wow, me and my girlfriend took this huge gap between it. We watched like 2 episodes and then like took like 3 months off and didn't watch a single episode. And we have finally gotten back to it, and we have watched, I think we're about on episode 6 or 7 now, so we're getting closer to the end of the show. And man, I know I'm like the last person to get onto this train, but wow, Shogun has been fantastic. It's just been so awesome. It really makes me want to read the book, because I know there has to be so much that is being left out of the show, because it's an enormous book. And I'm sure there's all kinds of like real close interpersonal things that just like you can't do the same way in a show that you can in a book. And those are like the moments that always draw me into reading more than being a TV show or a movie watcher. Like those are the things that really draw me in. So at some point I'm going to have to read Shogun. It's been on my list for a long time. It feels like it's one of those big long stories, kind of like when I read War and Peace, that is on like a long bucket list of some of those real massive books that like I just need to check off at some point. So yeah, that has been awesome. Still watching Jeopardy and still watching Reba. I am in the 5th season, so I only have like 20-ish episodes total left, because I think season 6 is like only half a season or something. And the cracks are definitely starting to show by this point in the show. It's a lot of the, not that it hasn't always been kind of the same stuff over and over again, but I don't know. It's still fun. I still have like a good time. I still laugh. It's still silly, but like it's missing just a little bit of core stuff that happens in some of those like first 3 seasons or so, because it even starts showing a little bit towards the end of season 4. But you know, it's still a good time, and I'm looking forward to being done with it, because like I said, I went back to watch this because I remembered bits and pieces of random episodes that I saw from like when I was a kid. And so to go back and watch it all the way through has just been an interesting experience, to like get the whole through line, realize that like a lot of this is like you should be able to hop in and miss episodes, because when this was coming out, it wasn't on, like there wasn't a Netflix, and if you missed it, you might not catch a rerun until you've watched 2 more episodes. So it is kind of funny how you can really like, there's like a slight through line, but like you can really kind of skip a couple episodes here. Not that I'm doing that, but like if you were watching it on TV, that you could. So I've talked enough about Reba. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened on the channel this week. And the first thing I want to mention, this came out on Thursday, but I had the honor and privilege of being a guest on Dear Dr. Fantasy over at Philip Chase's channel, The Best of Fantasy. And just wanted to say how honored I am to be a guest on that. I have watched pretty much all, if not all, most of the Dear Dr. Fantasies. I really enjoy those like long format talks with people. And so it's stuff that I have watched quite a bit. And it was just, you know, super awesome to get to talk to Philip. I was in another discussion about his books at one point, but to just, you know, get to talk one-on-one with him, super fantastic. We talked about mostly books, but we did talk about some other stuff in there in the beginning and everything. So I definitely highly recommend that you go check it out. I think he did a great job with the thumbnail as well. I got a good chuckle when I saw it when he was done with it. So I did, you know, have, like I said, just a fantastic time. It was awesome, and definitely a highlight of like booktube for me in general. And then some videos that came out on my channel. I did a TBR for the month of March. So if you want to see what else I'm reading, because there is a few other things that I kind of have planned, if I can finish the 2 books that I feel like I've been reading forever at this point. I wrapped up the month of February, which was really headlined by Fourth Wing. So if you want to go see what my thoughts on Fourth Wing were, you can go check that out. And I do have my next video that is coming out is actually going to be like a 30-minute long full spoiler discussion with my girlfriend about Fourth Wing. So you'll have that to look forward to if you're curious on, once again, my more in-depth thoughts of Fourth Wing in general. And then the last thing that I posted was actually my 2 years on BookTube. I just like to always, you know, take those snapshots. I'm like a quarterly person, but I do think it's good to look at those like long-term milestones when you hit them. So 2 years on BookTube. If you had told me when I started that I'd be here at 2 years plus, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So it's been an interesting experience. I'm glad that I'm still here and doing it, and it's been a lot of fun. So I do plan on trying to do a live stream today. If you're watching this Sunday, I need to still work out some stuff to figure that out, which is what I'm actually going to do right now after I finish recording this. So I'm going to go see if I can figure out how to live stream, which it shouldn't be that hard. I should be able to figure it out, but you never know. So if you are watching this in the morning when this comes out, check my community. I'll have a post for it, and hopefully it'll probably be later in the night. My guess is probably like 8:30, and my plan will be to go for about an hour. So definitely, you know, be on the lookout for that. It's really going to be, there's no plan. It's just going to be me, and if there's like 5 people there, you'll be the 5 people I'll talk to, and if not, I'll probably just I don't know. I'll just sit there and stare at myself for an hour, I guess, if nobody wants to talk. But hopefully that is not the case, and hopefully I can figure it out. If not, this was just a long addition to this video, and I failed to figure out how to live stream, which is definitely still a possibility. So if I do live stream, I hope to catch you there. Definitely let me know how your week was, what you read, watched, all of that fun stuff down below in the comments. And as always, remember, read what you want when you want.